If you're listening to this right now, perhaps the room is dim. Perhaps the light feels too sharp today, too loud, too unforgiving. Maybe the sound of everyday life feels heavier than it should. Maybe even the smallest things feel difficult right now. The hum of a fan, a voice in another room, the glow of a phone screen, the weight behind your eyes that refuses to loosen its grip. And maybe this is not the first time. Maybe this pain has become far too familiar. You know what it feels like when people ask if it is just a headache, and something inside of you quietly sinks, because if only they understood, if only they knew what it feels like to carry exhaustion inside your body before the day even begins. If only they understood how chronic pain steals things that others never think twice about. The missed moments, the canceled plans, the struggle to focus, the guilt, the fear of not knowing when the next wave will come, the exhaustion of wondering if today will be manageable or unbearable. And so, before anything else tonight, before healing, before hope, before words even begin to settle inside your spirit, I want you to know this. You are not weak for being tired. You are not failing because this has been hard. And you are not alone inside this pain. Right now, wherever you are, you do not have to push through anything. You do not have to explain yourself. You do not have to prove how strong you are. You do not even need to have the right words. You only need to rest here for a little while. Just rest. And if it helps, close your eyes. Relax your shoulders if you can. Unclench your jaw. Let your breathing slow, even slightly. There's no pressure here, no expectations, only space to breathe, only space to be held, because chronic pain can be so lonely. There are pains people can see, broken bones, bandages, visible scars. But invisible pain often asks people to survive quietly, to smile when they are hurting, to explain themselves repeatedly, to pretend they are fine when they are not, to keep moving through work, family, responsibilities, expectations, while silently carrying storms no one else can fully feel. And maybe you know that loneliness. Maybe you know what it feels like to lie in bed, wondering if anyone really understands how tired you are. Not just physically tired, soul tired. The kind of tiredness that settles into your thoughts. The kind that whispers discouragement when pain keeps returning. The kind that makes you wonder how much longer you can keep carrying this. And if that is where you are tonight, this prayer is for you. Not rushed, not loud, not demanding, just gentle, steady, quiet, like someone sitting beside you in the dark saying, "You do not have to carry this by yourself anymore. So slowly now, let us breathe together, in and out. No pressure, no perfect rhythm, just breathing, just being here. And as you rest, allow these words to settle softly around you. God, for the person listening right now, the person whose body feels exhausted, the person who has carried pain longer than they wanted to, the person who is tired of trying to explain what cannot always be explained. Would you draw near to them tonight? Nearer than fear, nearer than frustration, nearer than discouragement. Would you sit gently with them in this moment? Not far away, not distant, but close. Close enough to comfort the tired places. Close enough to quiet anxious thoughts. Close enough to remind them that they are seen. Because you see what others miss. You see the effort it took just to get through today. You see the moments they pushed themselves when they felt like collapsing. You see the disappointment of canceled plans, the quiet tears no one noticed, the frustration of another painful morning, the helplessness of not knowing when relief will come. You see all of it, every unseen battle, every silent ache, every weary thought. And God, for someone who has felt misunderstood, would you remind them now? Their suffering matters. Their exhaustion matters. Their tears matter. Their body matters. Their heart matters. Nothing about this pain has been invisible to you. Nothing has been forgotten. Nothing has been dismissed. Even here, especially here, in the middle of another difficult day, another difficult night, another migraine, another wave of exhaustion, would you bring comfort? Not rushed answers, not pressure, just comfort, the kind that settles slowly into aching places, the kind that says, you are still held, you are still loved, you are still safe, even here, especially here. And if fear has started growing in the quiet, fear of another attack, fear of worsening symptoms, fear of disappointment, fear of lost time, would you gently quiet those fears tonight? Because chronic pain can teach people to live on edge, always watching, always bracing, always wondering, will tomorrow be bad? Will I be able to function? Will I have to cancel again? Will anyone understand? And that constant uncertainty becomes exhausting. So exhausting. God, for the person who feels emotionally worn thin, please give them rest. Not only physical rest, but deep inner rest. Rest for thoughts that never stop racing. Rest for anxiety. Rest for anticipation. Rest for the heaviness of waiting. Rest from constantly preparing for pain. Would you allow their spirit to exhale tonight? Even briefly, even gently, even if healing feels far away. And for the one who feels discouraged, the one wondering why this keeps happening, would you hold them especially close? Because discouragement has a quiet voice. Sometimes it whispers, nothing will change. You will always struggle. Nobody understands. You're falling behind. You're missing too much life. But tonight, God, would you speak louder than discouragement? Not with pressure, not with impossible expectations, but with gentleness. Would you remind them that pain does not define them, that suffering has not erased their worth, that exhaustion has not made them less valuable, that even on difficult days, they're still deeply loved, still deeply seen, still worthy of tenderness, still worthy of rest, still worthy of hope, and God, for the moments when this pain has stolen joy, would you restore what exhaustion has tried to take? Little by little, moment by moment, a breath at a time, because chronic migraines can steal confidence, steal peace, steal predictability, steal energy, steal moments people thought they would have, and grief often follows. The quiet grief of saying, I miss who I used to be. I miss easier days. I miss feeling normal. I miss waking up without fear. And maybe someone listening right now feels that grief. If so, would you sit with them there too? Not rushing them, not dismissing what they have lost, but comforting them inside it. Because healing begins where honesty lives. And honesty says, this has been hard. This has been exhausting. This has hurt. So tonight, there's no pretending, no pressure to be endlessly strong, no pressure to have perfect faith, only honesty, only rest, only grace. And maybe right now, if you are listening, you can simply breathe again, slowly, gently, without forcing anything. You've survived difficult days before. You've made it through painful nights before. Even when you thought you could not, even when you felt overwhelmed, you are still here, still breathing, still holding on. And perhaps tonight does not have to be about fixing everything. Perhaps tonight can simply be about resting, about softening, about allowing yourself to stop carrying the entire weight of tomorrow. You do not have to solve next week tonight. You do not have to predict tomorrow's pain tonight. You do not have to carry every fear tonight. For now, just rest here. Let the worry loosen. Let the pressure soften. Let yourself be cared for, because there is mercy for tired people. There is gentleness for hurting people, and there is peace available, even if only in small beginnings. So as this night continues, may your breathing slow, may tension soften, may fear grow quieter, and may you begin, even slightly, to feel less alone. Because healing does not always begin with strength. Sometimes healing begins with finally allowing yourself to rest without performance, known without having to prove anything. Would you remind them, you are seen, you are understood, you are not invisible here. Nothing about your suffering is hidden. Nothing about your exhaustion is dismissed. Nothing about your tears has gone unnoticed. And maybe right now, you can simply rest in that. No defending yourself, no explaining yourself, no trying harder, just breathing, just listening, just allowing yourself to be cared for. Slowly now, take another breath. There's nowhere else you need to be, nothing you need to prove. Just stay here. And maybe one of the hardest parts has been uncertainty. Not knowing when the next migraine will come, not knowing if tomorrow will be manageable, not knowing whether plans will have to change again. That uncertainty becomes exhausting. Living on alert, always anticipating, always preparing, always hoping this time might be different. And carrying uncertainty for too long can quietly become fear. Fear of making commitments, fear of disappointing people, fear of being unreliable, fear of losing more pieces of life. And if fear has grown loud lately, God, would you gently quiet it? Not all at once, not forcefully, but softly, like peace entering a room slowly. Would you remind this tired heart, they do not have to carry tomorrow tonight. Tomorrow is not here yet. This moment is enough. This breath is enough. This small act of resting is enough. And God, would you bring healing where healing is needed? Gentle healing, deep healing, healing for weary nerves, healing for aching minds, healing for exhausted bodies, healing for emotional wounds left behind by chronic suffering, healing for fear, healing for discouragement, healing for hopelessness. And while healing unfolds in whatever way it comes, would you give strength for today? Because sometimes people need miracles, and sometimes they need endurance. Sometimes they need relief, and sometimes they simply need enough grace to get through another difficult day. Would you provide what is needed tonight? Not tomorrow's strength, tonight's strength. Not next month's peace, tonight's peace. Not answers for every question, just enough comfort for this moment. And if someone listening feels overwhelmed, would you gently remind them, you are allowed to rest. You're allowed to slow down. You're allowed to stop fighting for a moment. You're allowed to be tired. Because pain changes people. It asks more from them than most understand. And anyone carrying chronic suffering deserves tenderness. So tonight, may tenderness find you. May gentleness surround you. May your nervous system begin to soften. May your breathing deepen. May your thoughts become quieter. And may your body, even slightly, feel permission to rest. You do not have to carry everything tonight. You do not have to predict tomorrow. You do not have to fix everything before sleep comes. For now, just breathe, just rest, just remain here. Because even in exhaustion, you are still held. And even in pain, you are still worthy of peace. And so, if you are still here, still listening, still breathing through discomfort, still trying, even quietly, just remain here for a little while longer. There is no rush, no pressure to feel better immediately, no expectation that everything suddenly becomes easier. Only this moment, only this breath, only this gentle pause in the middle of everything that has felt so heavy. And perhaps tonight, exhaustion feels bigger than words. Because chronic migraines do not only hurt the body, they wear down hope, they wear down patience, they wear down confidence. There are days when the pain passes, but the exhaustion stays. The lingering heaviness, the drained feeling, the sense that your body has been fighting something invisible for far too long. And maybe you know that kind of weariness, the kind that makes simple things feel difficult, the kind that turns ordinary responsibilities into mountains, the kind that leaves you wondering why something so invisible can feel so overwhelming. Maybe there are moments when you feel frustrated with yourself, moments when you wish you could do more, be more productive, show up differently, keep plans, stay present, feel dependable. And perhaps there are quiet moments when guilt sneaks in, guilt for canceling, guilt for needing rest, guilt for disappointing people, guilt for not being able to explain what your body is carrying. But if guilt has followed you lately, can I gently remind you of something? Pain is not failure. Rest is not weakness. And surviving something difficult every single day takes strength most people never see. Even getting through today mattered. Even making it this far mattered. Even listening right now matters. You are trying. Even when it does not feel like enough, you are trying. And sometimes surviving is the bravest thing a person can do. So if you have been hard on yourself, if frustration has become your constant companion, let us set some of that weight down for a moment. Not forever, just for now. You do not have to carry every burden while you rest here. God, would you meet the exhausted person listening right now? The one who feels emotionally worn thin, the one who feels physically depleted, the one who cannot remember what fully rested even feels like anymore. Would you sit gently beside them tonight? Would you bring compassion into places where frustration has been growing? Because sometimes chronic suffering creates questions people do not know how to ask out loud. Questions like, why won't this stop? Why does it keep coming back? Why does healing feel so far away? How much longer can I keep doing this? And maybe those questions have been quietly sitting inside someone's heart for weeks, or months, or years. And God, you are not afraid of those questions. You are not disappointed by exhaustion. You are not frustrated by weariness. You do not step away from hurting people. You move closer. So tonight, would you move closer? Closer to the fear, closer to the discouragement, closer to the pain behind tired eyes, closer to the person who feels alone in all of this. And if someone listening feels forgotten, would you remind them now that they have not been abandoned? Even here, especially here, in the middle of recurring pain, in the uncertainty, in the waiting, in the moments when healing feels distant, would you help them feel held? Not because everything is solved, not because pain has disappeared, but because they do not have to walk through suffering unsupported. And God, for the person carrying invisible grief, would you comfort them? Because there is grief inside chronic illness, grief for normal routines, grief for interrupted plans, grief for energy that disappeared, grief for missed experiences, grief for the version of life they thought they would have. Sometimes people grieving chronic pain do not even realize they are grieving. They only know they feel sad, frustrated, disconnected, tired, and maybe that sadness has quietly settled into someone's spirit tonight. If so, would you meet them there? Would you remind them that grieving loss does not mean they are hopeless, that sadness does not mean weakness, that disappointment does not mean faith has failed? Would you simply sit with them in tenderness? Because sometimes comfort arrives quietly, not as loud answers, but as presence, as gentleness, as peace that slowly begins to settle into aching places. And for the one who feels misunderstood, the one tired of saying, "No, it's more than a headache," would you comfort that loneliness too? Because invisible suffering often feels isolating. People mean well, but they do not always understand, and misunderstanding can become its own kind of pain. The pain of feeling unseen, the pain of needing understanding that never quite comes, the pain of pretending to be okay just to avoid explaining again. God, for every listener who feels unseen, would you let them feel deeply known tonight? Known without explanation. And as you continue resting here, as the night grows quieter around you, as the world outside slows down, even if only a little, allow yourself to settle even deeper. There's nowhere you need to rush to, nothing you need to accomplish in this moment, nothing you need to prove. The day has already asked enough of you. The pain has already asked enough of you. The exhaustion has already taken enough of your strength. For now, simply rest. Let your body sink into the place beneath you. Let your breathing remain slow and unforced. Let your thoughts come and go without chasing them. You are safe here. You are allowed to rest here. And as the night continues, perhaps there is something else you have been carrying. Not only physical pain, not only fatigue, but emotional weight. The weight that builds over time when suffering becomes familiar. The weight of disappointment, the weight of uncertainty, the weight of hopes deferred, the weight of asking for relief and still waking up to another difficult day. Perhaps there have been moments when you felt strong, moments when you believed things were getting better, moments when hope seemed close, only to find yourself facing another migraine, another setback, another interruption, another reminder that healing has not arrived in the way you hoped. And if your heart has become tired from hoping, God sees that too. He sees the courage it takes to keep going, the courage it takes to try again, the courage it takes to wake up and face uncertainty, the courage it takes to keep believing when the road feels long. So tonight, you do not need to pretend to be fearless. You do not need to pretend to be endlessly optimistic. You do not need to force yourself into positivity. You can simply be honest. And perhaps honesty sounds like this: God, I am tired. God, this has been difficult. God, I do not understand everything. God, I wish this pain would stop. God, I need help. Those are holy words too, not because they are polished, not because they are perfect, but because they are real. And God meets people in truth. So wherever you are tonight, whether hopeful or discouraged, whether calm or anxious, whether peaceful or overwhelmed, you are welcome here, just as you are. And now, slowly, gently, let us place some of these burdens down, not because they never mattered, not because they are small, but because they have become too heavy to carry alone. God, for the person listening right now, would you receive the burdens they have been carrying, the fears they have not spoken aloud, the worries they keep replaying, the frustrations they keep holding inside, the questions they keep asking, the exhaustion they cannot seem to escape? Would you receive it all? Because you never asked hurting people to carry everything alone. And some burdens have become far too heavy. The burden of uncertainty, the burden of recurring pain, the burden of interrupted plans, the burden of feeling unreliable, the burden of wondering what tomorrow might bring. Tonight, God, would you help them release those burdens into your care? Even if only for a few moments, even if only one worry at a time, would you help them loosen their grip? Because constant vigilance is exhausting. Constant fear is exhausting. Constant anticipation is exhausting. And some hearts have been bracing themselves for so long, they no longer remember how to rest. Would you teach rest again? Would you teach peace again? Would you teach stillness again? And as these words continue, perhaps you can imagine setting down one burden. Just one. You do not have to set down everything at once. Just one thing, one fear, one worry, one pressure, one unanswered question. Place it gently into God's hands. You do not have to solve it tonight. You do not have to carry it tonight. You can simply release it and then breathe, slowly, gently, without pressure, without striving, without forcing anything. Just breathe. God, would you bring comfort to tired minds? Because migraines do not only affect the body, they affect thoughts, emotions, confidence, peace. There are days when the mind feels exhausted from pain, days when concentration feels impossible, days when frustration feels close, days when discouragement grows louder than hope. For every weary mind listening tonight, would you bring calm? Not because every problem is solved, but because your presence is greater than fear, greater than uncertainty, greater than the heaviness that has followed them. Would you quiet racing thoughts? Would you slow anxious thinking? Would you ease the pressure of trying to control tomorrow? Would you gently remind them that they are not responsible for carrying every possible outcome? Tonight can simply be tonight. This moment can simply be this moment. This breath can simply be this breath. Nothing more, nothing less. And God, for the person whose body feels exhausted beyond words, would you bring relief? You know, every nerve, every muscle, every cell, every ache, every pulse of pain, every symptom, every struggle. Nothing is hidden from you. Nothing is beyond your awareness. And so tonight, we ask for healing. Healing where healing is needed. Relief where relief is needed. Restoration where restoration is needed. Comfort where comfort is needed. We ask gently, hopefully, trustingly, not demanding, not forcing, simply asking. Because you care for hurting people. You care for exhausted people. You care for people lying awake in dark rooms hoping for relief. You care for people whose lives have been interrupted by chronic suffering. You care. And sometimes, God, the most healing thing is simply knowing that someone cares. Knowing that suffering is not ignored. Knowing that tears matter. Knowing that pain matters. knowing that exhausted hearts matter. So tonight, would your care feel close? Would your peace feel near? Would your comfort settle deeply into weary places? And if sleep feels distant tonight, would you gently prepare the heart for rest? Not forced sleep, not anxious sleep, but peaceful rest, the kind that arrives quietly, the kind that arrives slowly, the kind that feels like a gift rather than a struggle. And so, as the night continues, may these words become softer, may your thoughts become quieter, may your breathing become steadier, may your shoulders loosen, may tension begin to leave, may fear begin to fade, may peace begin to grow, little by little, moment by moment, breath by breath. You do not need to hurry. You do not need to strive. You do not need to carry everything. You do not need to know everything. You do not need to fix everything. You only need to rest. Rest in this moment. Rest in this breath. Rest in the knowledge that you are not alone. And if your mind wanders, simply return to these gentle truths. You are seen. You are loved. You are held. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not carrying this alone. Again, you are seen. You are loved. You are held. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not carrying this alone. Let those words settle. Let them sink deeper than fear, deeper than frustration, deeper than discouragement, deeper than pain. And if all you can do tonight is listen, that is enough. If all you can do tonight is breathe, that is enough. If all you can do tonight is rest, that is enough. Because grace meets people exactly where they are, not where they think they should be, not where others expect them to be, exactly where they are. And tonight, grace is here, gentle, patient, steady, quiet, like a soft light in the darkness, like a calm voice in the middle of fear, like a hand reaching toward an exhausted heart. So continue resting, continue breathing, continue letting go. The night does not need to be conquered. The pain does not need to be solved this instant. This moment is simply for rest, simply for comfort, simply for peace. And as the night grows deeper, may your heart grow lighter. May your mind grow quieter. May your body grow calmer. And may healing, comfort, and peace begin their gentle work within you. As this prayer comes toward its ending, may every listener remember these truths. When pain returns, they are not alone. When fear returns, they are not alone. When exhaustion returns, they are not alone. When discouragement returns, they are not alone. You remain with them. Your comfort remains with them. Your presence remains with them. Your peace remains available to them. And perhaps tonight, before sleep arrives, perhaps there is only one thing left to do: to rest, to let go of tomorrow, to release the pressure to control what cannot be controlled, to surrender the worries that have been carried for too long, to trust that this night can simply be a night of rest. So if your eyes feel heavy, let them close. If your breathing feels slower, let it slow. If your mind feels quieter, let it remain quiet. And if sleep begins to come, receive it as a gift for your weary body, a gift for your weary mind, a gift for your weary heart. You do not need to earn rest. You do not need to deserve rest. You simply need to receive it. Because tonight, you have carried enough. You have fought enough battles. You have carried enough concerns. You have worried enough about tomorrow. For now, just rest. Rest in hope. Rest in comfort. Rest in the knowledge that you are deeply loved. And wherever this night finds you, may healing find you. May comfort find you. May strength find you. May peace find you. And may tomorrow hold more grace than you expect. Amen. If this prayer spoke to your heart, take a moment to leave a comment with the words, "I receive God's peace." Your comment may encourage someone else who is walking through chronic pain and feeling alone. And if you would like more prayers for healing, sleep, comfort, and strength during difficult seasons, like this video and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, may God's peace and comfort remain with you throughout the night and every day. Amen.